Hi everyone, and welcome back to Spectrum's Health Series. I'm Christina, a fourth-year economics student at the University of St. Andrews and a certified emergency medical technician in the United States. Today we will continue the health series with this season's topic of love and sex. We're going to look at this from a positive angle today, focusing on the health benefits of romantic love and sex, and hearing from the sex and couples therapist, Marissa Nelson of Washington, D.C.-based XoXo Therapy. We'll conclude with a debate on friends with benefits relationships. I'm really excited for this discussion today, so let's get started with the health benefits of love. To clarify first, the love we are talking about here is romantic love, although a lot of research seems to support the idea that many of the health benefits found between romantic couples in love can be found in other close long-term relationships. The health benefits couples in love experience are numerous. Research shows that happily married couples have lower rates of depression, anxiety, headaches, back pain, colds, flus, and blood pressure. Happily married couples visit the doctor less, have better dental hygiene, and live longer. One study even found that happily married couples heal faster from wounds than other adults. However, these benefits do not seem to accrue as much to couples in the initial passionate stage of romantic love. These couples actually show higher levels of stress and anxiety, perhaps from having such a large recent life change. It seems that these benefits come to couples who have established a level of trust and security over a long period of time. But how exactly does having a happy marriage contribute to good health? Neurobiologists Tobias Esch and George Stefano show that the answer is incredibly complex. They link the phenomenon of love to about 10 different hormones in the body, including oxytocin, which we discussed in our last episode, prolactin, dopamine, and vasopressin. They argue that it is the complex and poorly understood interconnection between these hormones and each hormone's synthesis in different parts of the brain that constitutes feelings of love over a lifetime. Although it hardly gives an answer as to how love gives us health benefits, it seems to come down to how these hormones mitigate feelings of stress. With less stress, the immune system works better and the human body works more optimally. Other experts have different opinions about the mechanisms of love and its effects on the body. The numerous benefits of positive and healthy romantic and sexual relationships are why Marissa Nelson of XoXo Therapy dedicates her career to encouraging these in married couples. Let's turn now to her for a different point of view on love. Hi Marissa, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. This is so exciting.
Let's start with your philosophy on love.
For me, my philosophy on love is a couple of things. What it boils down to is, of course, there's passion, that romantic and sexual driven connection. There's commitment, because part of love is committing to being open, to being safe to that person, to feeling connected and to experiencing that emotional intimacy with that other person. And then another component of that is friendship. And within friendship, I think that you have various aspects, right? You have trust, you have fidelity and faithfulness and honesty, and all of these components that I think make up a really solid relationship. But for me, after you weather the test of time, you really have to have that deep sense of friendship, because that friendship carries you as your relationship transitions through different phases of life, from being single to then being married and exploring life as a couple, or being in a long-term committed partnership, and then you choose to have children and transitioning into parenthood, and what your relationship looks like through then. You move more into a partnership where we're taking care of our children. We're moving into this phase where we really need to have mutual respect and reciprocity and really need to be there for one another. And as we age, when we really need someone to stay by our sides and to know that we have a sense of security and to know that we are loved for exactly who we are, all of those different components, when it boils down to it, it's the friendship that gets you through it. It's the friendship that when sometimes you can't stand the other person, this is my companion. This is somebody that I have memories with. This is someone that I root for, that I cheer for, that is there for me. So to me, love is a sense of being seen and heard and felt and understood. And there's a strong component of friendship and commitment.
It's so good to talk about all the different aspects of love and the different faces of what it really means to two people or to a person throughout their life cycle.
Right.
And considering that, what would you say are the health benefits of love?
Well, especially for men, there's a study that shows that men that are in married or in committed relationships are less likely to have heart attacks or experience heart disease or any other life-threatening illnesses. There are definitely health benefits of being in love, from the feelings of felt security to feeling completely bonded with someone. When you are with someone, your blood pressure goes down. You have a sense of euphoria sometimes. Really makes you feel at peace and at ease. So you're not as likely, if you are in a committed, healthy partnership, to feel instances of depression or anxiety that some singles go through when they don't feel that felt sense of security. So, there are tons of health benefits that love offers to us. So, I encourage people to really get in touch with themselves and explore as much love as their heart can hold, because it's a really fascinating, wonderful thing to experience.
Yeah, I agree. That's such a positive outlook on life and love. So more about your practice and what you do with your clients. What are some of the patterns of gender-specific issues that you see in your practice regularly?
I like the fact that you said gender-specific, because it applies and it doesn't apply. I think that a lot of times people believe emotions are gendered. That's not necessarily the case. If you did a wide swath, sure, there are times where we can characterize women doing X and men doing Y, but at the end of the day, emotions are not gendered. And so what I see in my office, as it relates to what walks through my door, I see couples of all configurations with all types of problems, from where the wife was cheating, and this was the second or third time that his female partner has had an affair, or from men that have desire disorders where the wife wants to have, or the partner wants to have more sex than the guy does, or the guy's boyfriend wants to have more sex than his partner does. I see lesbians that have desire disorders or have trauma, previous sexual trauma that impacts their relationship. So I have clients of all gender identifications, of all sexual orientations, that experience their issues very differently. And it's very real for them. And sometimes part of what therapy does is, this is a space where you can risk, and you can do that without judgment. I don't have anything invested in this other than to make sure that I help you heal in whatever way, shape, or form, whatever that looks like for you. So if it's asking you hard questions so that you can finally bump up against the reality of talking about the things that are necessary to take your relationship to the next level or to feel more emotionally connected, that is my job. If my job is to help you see what developmental things have happened in your past, or the relationships with your family of origin, parents, siblings, previous relationships, and how all of that has impacted who you are as a person, that is my job. It's one that I certainly don't take lightly, and it's one that I certainly love to death.
Now, we also know that in the wider world there are stereotypes about men and women, whether they're right or not, whether they're biologically determined or not, that's a big debate, but they still do exist, right? Mm-hmm. So do you think that that dimension plays into your practice because, say, there's one certain stereotype about how men should handle love or a romantic relationship in general, how that affects why people come or what they bring up?
From a larger, more systemic level, I think you're absolutely right. I've been trained to look at issues as just issues and not just coming from this person or this person. But yes, I think that that's a huge reason as to why people come into therapy, because we have been socialized to behave in gender-specific ways. And so especially when it comes to sexuality and intimacy and emotions, that, as a society, it's okay for men to exhibit a strong sense of sexual self and sexuality, whereas women have not been socialized to do the same. And so when it comes to a couple that are coming in and they might say, my wife doesn't want to have sex, fix her. Or flip that around, a wife comes in and says, you know what? My husband doesn't want to have sex. There must be something wrong with you. I don't know any man that doesn't want to have sex. I don't know any man that doesn't have a desire. You must not be man enough. That happens. And so the ways in which these gender roles can help us and hurt us is one of the reasons why it gives me context as to how it gives us either permission or inhibits us in really exploring the freedom of who we are as people. Because we're so stuck in these binary, female, male, straight, gay, all of these different ways in which we can be trapped. And so in this experience, although we are dealing with obviously these heteronormative, gender role specific things, I use it as context to understand the real issues, which is what's underneath the surface. As a man or as a woman, you deserve to explore your own sense of sexuality. You deserve to be able to feel emotion and to display emotion. It's just that sometimes in life, men aren't given that permission. Nobody has ever given him the space to do that. And so that's why therapy can be so transformative, because this is a space where you can do that. I certainly don't want to minimize it because gender roles exist. They are there, but I want it more to be flexible and more open to where we can understand the role that it plays in your partnership, as opposed to just confining yourself to this is the way it is, this is the way we need to be. You can use it and utilize it in your own relationship, but understand the impact that it has on your relationship.
Given all of the benefits we see from romantic love over a lifetime, let's turn now to sexual relationships. Today we look at some of the positive aspects of these, but always remember that it is crucial to learn about the dangers of unsafe and unhealthy sexual relationships, such as STDs, unwanted pregnancy, or negative emotional repercussions. As it turns out, research suggests similar positive benefits from healthy and safe sexual relationships. Different studies find that individuals who engage in such relationships have less depression, lower resting blood pressure, and higher life expectancies. Other studies find that women that report consistent and healthy safe sexual relationships are predicted to have less preeclampsia and breast cancer risk, and fewer and less intense menopausal hot flashes. Let's turn back to Marissa Nelson for some of her thoughts on this.
Couples that are struggling to foster a sense of love or sexual relationship, the presenting problem when couples could come in could be a sexual one. So it could be desire discrepancies, which is differences in the amount or frequency of sex or connection of sex that we would like to have. When I hear that question, it's very important for me to get underneath the surface and understand the root cause of that disconnection. A lot of times, especially when it comes to our sexual connection and intimacy, those sexual issues are a direct reflection about the relationship issues. So it's really important, if a couple is looking towards strengthening their relationship, they look from the inside out. So I really want them to pay attention to, what does your relationship look like now? Sex is on the side, and we'll incorporate that. But what does your relationship look like now? Can I feel vulnerable? Can I be my authentic self with this person? Is this person somebody that I don't feel dismissed by? Because certainly if you feel rejected and dismissed outside of the bedroom, you're certainly not going to want to take your clothes off and have sex with that person. Or you will, but you're going to lose erotic focus, which just is not being present in the feeling and the sensations of your sexual experience. Your mind is going to be out there. So it's very important. If you want to strengthen your sexual connection, strengthen your emotional connection, because sex and sexuality is really, it's about vulnerability. It's one of the most vulnerable acts that we can do. We're taking our clothes off. You're seeing me essentially naked, not only physically, but in an emotional way, especially if you're in a relationship. And so here I am being vulnerable. There is a sense of trust. There's a sense of security and sensuality. And if you're not feeling that outside of your sexual experience, then I want to help you understand what that is so that you can feel that way with your partner.
Do you ever try to give advice for the opposite way around, like when there's an emotional connection?
But there's not a physical one. I don't believe more sex is more intimacy. You can have as much sex as you like, but there's plenty of people that have lots and lots of sex but don't feel very connected. What I care about is, are you satisfied? Do you feel connected? Do you feel bonded? Is it a sense of intimacy? I want to move away from the performance-driven act of have to have sex, has to be X amount of times a week. We have to achieve orgasm. And if you don't, well, we failed. I want to take it out of that realm and for it to really, for the couple, be more about satisfaction, really more about the experience of intimacy than it is about let's just stick to our same sexual script, which happens a lot. Sometimes people don't really want to have sex all the time because it's not about a sense of novelty, but there is a certain script that happens. I always explore that with my clients and, I ask them about their sexual experience and sometimes it's the same. I take a shower. After I take a shower, I shave. After I shave, I get in bed. And then when I get in bed, we do this first and then we do that. And then we go straight into sex. And then afterwards, we go to sleep. When that happens and you can always predict exactly what your sexual routine is going to be, well, no wonder a lot of people don't want to have sex sometimes. Think about when you were in college or when you had a boyfriend or girlfriend or partner that you really liked. A lot of couples lose that sense of eroticism, lose that sense of anticipation and sensuality because part of that sexual experience was the anticipation, was the waiting, the desire. Didn't mean that the sex looked different. It just meant the approach to it was a bit different. That we worked a little harder to talk about what excites you, what turns you on. There was phone conversations about it. A lot of times as we move a little bit more and more and more, a lot of couples down the line could possibly lose that sense of eroticism and sensuality in their relationship, and it just becomes mechanical. We do this, we want to have sex, you want to have sex, all right. But their desire isn't found in that.
What would you say, in general, the health benefits of sex are?
Well, there are a lot of health benefits to sex. I mean, obviously, from the relaxation to there is certainly a chemical wash that you get after sex, from different hormones that are being released to, sometimes people really feel a sense of calm and sleepiness and it allows you to sleep better. Those are among some of the health benefits of sex. Certainly pelvic floor health is really important because when you have sex, you are using your pelvic floor, which are interconnected muscle and tissues that support your reproductive organs. And every time you have sex or have an orgasm, you are essentially strengthening your pelvic floor, which is super important because as we age and go through the life cycle, our pelvic floor can sag if we do not pay attention to it and continue to strengthen it. And by sagging, it just means that when you jump or run, or you might have what's called incontinence, where you're not able to control, or you might have a drip or two of urine that might come out. So it's really, really important to maintain. You can partly help your pelvic floor by doing Kegel exercises, by having sex. The more you use your pelvic floor, actually there's a strong correlation between pelvic floor health and orgasms. There was a study that said that women that do not have any orgasms typically have weak pelvic floor. Women that experience vaginal orgasms have a moderate pelvic floor, and women that are able to experience both clitoral and vaginal orgasms have fairly strong pelvic floor health. So there is a correlation between sex, the type of orgasm, and pelvic floor health for us. So it's really beneficial for us to really engage in sex, and as long as you can and as much as you can, if that's what you like, because I think it's awesome.
Now, before I ask the last question...
Sure. We've gone through all of that already?
Yeah, we did.
Oh my gosh.
We have gotten through all of that, and so far still haven't talked about cuffing season, which is something I know you love to talk about. So tell me about what that is.
Okay, so cuffing season has been in urban vernacular since, I would say, about 2010, and cuffing season is really essentially the winter to the summer fling. It's essentially during winter months when it gets cold outside, finding connections, somebody to snuggle with, someone to spend your time with during the colder winter months. Why cuffing season works is because when it's not warm outside, you're not getting sunlight as often in the wintertime than you are in the summertime. Sunlight affects hormones related to sleep, eating. It really affects a lot of our cycle, and so we're not going to really want to go out as much. We're going to want to stay indoors more. Sometimes we're really going to really want some time to ourselves and essentially hibernate. Why not better hibernate with company? So it's really just a version of the seasonal affective disorder, and this is just the way people cope with it. What better way to do it than with company? I just think that the only caveat to all of this is that it's really more about, one, making sure everybody that's in your life or anybody that you invite into your life is just a good person. Am I compatible with this person? Are they just not available? Let me not compartmentalize, oh, they're available, maybe this is just for sex, or maybe this is just for companionship. You really want to assess, if this went beyond what I believe is just cuffing season, would I be okay with that? What if you catch feelings for someone because, in the initial stages of dating, you're getting complete chemical wash of hormones that make you want to feel more bonded and connected to the person. It's going to make you want to have more sex with the person. I mean, you're really getting a dopamine drip, that's going to make you want to crave and be around this person more and more and more. And as you move longer into cuffing season, then oxytocin takes place. And that's really more of the bonding chemical that's going to make you want to be closer. And so one of the risks is if you are cuffing season with someone, when the season's over, did you bite off more than you can chew? So it's really important that people check in with whoever they want to spend time with, and also to make their expectations known of, this is just connection, I really just enjoy spending time with you. Or if you're in the space where you're looking for a relationship, then you also need to be mindful of that too and convey your expectations to your partner.
Finally, for our last question.
Oh no, this has been too fun.
So what advice would you give to our listeners about their relationships?
I think the biggest kind of advice is that I want us to really understand what it means to nurture a relationship. That a lot of times we're so busy. We're all busy being parents, siblings, colleagues at work. We have all of these different ways in which we extend ourselves in our lives. And that a lot of times people don't understand that you have to really nurture your relationship. It's like a plant. You have to give it love and sunlight and warmth and energy, or else, little by little, a leaf will fall, a situation will happen, and you will continue to drift farther and farther away from each other. So what's important is really making your relationship not just a priority, making your partner a priority. And the ways in which you do that is making sure that you can be a safe haven to them. Because many times we have our needs. We want our needs met, and our partners have our needs. And a lot of times we don't even know what we need, let alone how to satisfy our partner's needs. But at the end of the day, we all want to feel acknowledged. We all want to feel that somebody sees us, that they love us, they value us, that we belong to them, that we mean something to them. And so when you don't feel that way, you react defensively. You distance yourself. You cling on because you want to hold tight because you know you want to be close to that person. So there are various ways in which we show our disconnection, but there are many ways in which we can show our love and our support and our connection to our partner. And we have to create a relationship that's safe, where our partner can come to us. We're not going to reject them. We're not going to just blow them off or dismiss them. They come home and they had a hard day and they want to talk to us and like, oh, give me a second, I have to do this. It's really about, you know what, I care about what you have to say. I really care about what you have to say. I'm in the middle of something. Would you just give me just 5 minutes, and then I want to hear about what's going on with you. That makes a difference. Because we don't recognize how what we're doing so unconsciously can really affect our partner and our partner's feelings. That's a huge piece of advice. Another piece of advice is nurture your friendship. At the end of the day, it really is just about a sense of honesty and a sense of accountability. We have to be accountable for the things and the ways in which we react, and it's not just our partner's fault. There's a dynamic. It's both people that are contributing to whatever is happening, connection or disconnection. So be accountable, make your relationship a priority, have a lot of sex if you can. And, whatever is good for your personal health is also great for your sexual health. So get enough hours to sleep. Sleep at least 5 hours a night. Anything less than 5 hours is literally, you're more predisposed to depression, anxiety, and irritable mood. And when you're depressed, anxious, and you're in a funk, you are not going to want to sleep with anybody. Get enough sleep. Get exercise. Take care of yourself. Find ways to meditate, to do whatever it is that's going to bring you back to center. Because if you can't give back to yourself, you have nothing left to give to your partner. So you have to take care of yourself. You need to eat often. Reduce smoking, because smoking definitely constricts your blood vessels, which brings blood flow to your reproductive organs. So it's going to help all around. If you're healthy and you're happy, you can bring that into your relationship.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes.
Marissa. It was such a pleasure.
Of course. I love it.
So much wisdom.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Having considered the numerous health benefits from positive and healthy romantic and sexual relationships, we turn to our last topic of the episode, friends with benefits. For those of us who are unfamiliar with the term, a friend with benefits relationship is one in which two friends choose to have a sexual yet unromantic relationship. Lots of research has been conducted on how these relationships are formed, how men and women approach them differently, and whether they cause significant mental health consequences for those who engage in them. Research seems straightforward on gender differences in regard to friends with benefits relationships. For instance, one study found that 69% of women who were in a friends with benefits relationship hoped that it would turn into a romantic relationship, while only 40% of men expressed this desire. Furthermore, it found that 37% of women and only 25% of men expressed their primary motivation for initiating the relationship was for more emotional intimacy. However, results are mixed regarding the mental health consequences of friends with benefits relationships. Some studies find statistically significant evidence of higher rates of depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem following these relationships. Others find no evidence of a mental health cost to having a friend with benefits. Given the inconclusive evidence, I decided to pose the question of what people thought about friends with benefits to a handful of young adults. So, what do you think about friends with benefits?
I think having friends with benefits can be a very positive thing. It's certainly not a traditional way of encountering sexual relations, but that doesn't mean that it has to be a bad thing. If people want to explore that side of their sexuality, then that's great. And I think as long as sex is always safe and it's consensual, then there is nothing that needs to be dangerous about it. I think it's just very important that both people in that situation fully understand what it is they're getting into. I understand that there can sometimes be complications if people develop feelings on either side, but if it is a true friendship, I think friendship will survive a lot. And I think perhaps people overvalue sex in some ways. They think that it can make it unnecessarily complex, when for some people it can just be an enjoyable thing and another part of their friendship that doesn't always need to continue, but is fun for the moment and is something they want to explore while they're at university, while they're with somebody that they're comfortable with. If they have any problems having sex in general, it can be nice to do that with somebody who you're close to and who you trust. So I think it can certainly be a really good thing for some people.
I think it's not a very healthy situation, because you pretty much are preventing yourself from finding someone that is right for you. So if you are friends with someone and you're meant to be with them in a relationship because you have that solid foundation emotionally, then you're going to have that physically as well, and you're going to go down the relationship route. Whereas a friends with benefits is kind of an awkward limbo stage where you respect someone enough to call them your friend, but you just want something physical in the meantime until you find that right person. And inevitably, one or more parties both get hurt. So I would try to avoid that situation if at all possible, because eventually you're going to find the right person, or the right person will find you in life. And you might as well wait out as hard as it is and give yourself and your friend the right respect that they deserve.
I don't think there's anything wrong with friends with benefits. I think it can be something that's good for both parties. If you're not looking for a relationship and you feel comfortable and safe with somebody, I feel like that's probably a healthier alternative than to go get drunk at a bar and just find someone to have a one-night stand with. A lot less likely to catch something or knock somebody up. No, I feel like if you know somebody and you're comfortable and you're in a sober setting and you can talk about things, you're probably more likely to have ground rules and be on the same page about everything.
I'm actually completely against friends with benefits. I think is a very terrible idea because it trivializes love. I think love is important and serious. When I go into a relationship with someone, I feel like it's a sacred thing. It's not something that should be treated lightly, because when people share life in the context of relationship, your lives mix so much that I think it's difficult to separate. You become joined together in such a way that when you separate, it tears and wounds in a very unhealthy way. If you're going to be friends, but if you're going to have the extra, then it has to be in a very special context, which for me is marriage, because then there's a covenant and you know that you're going to take it out. But I'm not against friendship. I think friendship is a very beautiful thing. And also I think the fact that we add benefits to friends is saying like friendship is not enough, and I think actually friendship is a lot. True friendship for me is pretty intimate without the added things. Like you can really share life together, and a friendship is a beautiful thing in its own way, which I think has to be distinct from what things a lot more intimate. Yes, so I think we need like a deeper appreciation for what it means to be a friend to somebody else without having to mix in what it should be in a marriage. Sometimes when you add, you subtract.
Regardless of the health benefits we discussed earlier, it is my belief that love is more than the sum of its parts. Love is a mysterious and beautiful phenomenon that we should celebrate and bring into our lives however possible. I leave you with a quote from Interstellar, one of my favorite new movies. Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of time and space. Maybe we should trust that, even if we can't yet understand it. Thank you so much for listening and being part of our conversation for Spectrum's Health Series today. See you next time! Thank you.